The higher side chats is where it's at. With everything you need to know, from corruption to UFOs. Be sure to grab your weed and let's look at some conspiracies on THC, the higher side chat.
How's it going, Higher Side Chatters? I know I don't normally do this, but I stumbled across something interesting in that realm of predictive Hollywood media, and I didn't want to just jam it into the beginning or the end of some unrelated episode. It's not really fair to the guests, and it just kind of gets lost in there. So I'm going to just go it alone for a couple of minutes and connect a few dots that I found interesting, and maybe you'll see something here too. You know, we hear about this strange crossroads between media and tragic events. Neo's passport in the Matrix expires on 9/11/2001. When the Boston bombing happened, a lot of people were citing some eerie Family Guy references that seemed to dance around that tragedy. And of course, we saw a shooting in Aurora, Colorado during the premiere of The Dark Knight, which has a scene of Aurora written in bright lights above the city with some cryptic symbols beneath it, as well as a reference to Sandy Hook. And I just caught another interesting one today. After an extended winter break, one of my favorite sitcoms, Modern Family, returned with their mid-season premiere, an episode entitled The Day We Almost Died. Now, this came out on the exact day of the tragic shooting at the offices of the French magazine Charlie Hebdo that we're told was done by Islamic extremists because they've drawn images of Muhammad. Okay, both the shooting and the airing of this episode happened on January 7th, 2015. And when a sitcom only has about 20 minutes to fill, and out of all the infinite possibilities of things to talk about, I find this scene a little odd. Here's the clip.
I was already on edge. The day before, I was with my mom at the park when some guy on a bike swiped her phone. He must have been a criminal mastermind. He struck the 1 second she wasn't taking pictures of Joe. The worst part is, I saw him grab it. I had a chance to do something and be a hero to my mom, but I froze.
What would you have done? Made him the subject of a satirical cartoon?
Hey, they've taken down presidents. Now, can you just support me here? There are only so many moments a son has a chance to...
Blah, blah.
Very mature. Pick a fight, then tune me out? It's not bothering me. Stop it!
Not only the specific reference to drawing political cartoons, but then we have some odd sentences about maybe he was a criminal mastermind and they've taken down presidents before. I don't know. Maybe it's a stretch. But then you'd have to ask, how could the ABC network know about a random terror attack? Well, they couldn't know about a random attack. But maybe it wasn't random. And if it wasn't, is there someone who would have an incentive or motivation to carry out such a tragic attack in France and blame Muslim extremists? Well, yes, there kind of is. Just 1 month before this magazine office massacre, the French government voted on and approved a recognition of the state of Palestine, which you think Muslims would be happy with, not a reason to launch an attack in France. Now, I am not qualified to dismantle the entire Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and hell, I wouldn't want to, but I know it's very bloody, very cutthroat, and completely layered, and so much propaganda, it's tough to get a true handle on. But when this vote occurred in France, Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu warned them that they'd be making a, quote, grave mistake if France were to make the decision that they made. And isn't that a little messed up? I mean, all things aside, should a world leader really be making those kind of veiled threats to another country in the civilized world? And then for the biggest tragedy of the year to occur just 30 days later, I mean, that's suspicious. If someone in an apartment complex died and the neighbor made a threat to them 30 days earlier, there'd be an investigation. But if you wanted to give the French government and the French people a bit of a spanking for disrupting your campaign against these people of Palestine, and you could blame it on those on the other side of your religious war at the same time, well, I think there's a good case to be made there. Because if you're trying to carry out a genocide, it helps if the whole world thinks that they're evil terrorists. Israel has definitely been accused of involvement in many tragedies, including 9/11, and if the Israeli government did carry out this shooting, their cozy relationship with the American media is well established, and suddenly what might be a sly nod to a false flag attack on an American sitcom on the ABC network doesn't really seem all that mysterious to me. You also have people analyzing some of the footage and saying it was a staged crisis actor type event too, And I don't know, I wouldn't try to weigh in on that either way, because I haven't really done the research, but I guess I should address this little bit of awkwardness that occurs when you go here and talk about these kind of things. But to say that the Israeli government and their agencies couldn't be responsible for this, when they also seem to be responsible for a lot of other crimes, is not an attack on anyone who's Jewish. I am not going to get crazy here, but it's obvious to everyone that the oldest saga in this round of recorded history is this ancient religious war and this battle for dominance over this one area of the Middle East. And as we explore the creation of money systems as tied to these early priesthoods, and we examine the idea of the deity flip, that someone manipulating all the three major religions has tricked their congregations into channeling energy for some negative entity, and this saga starts to incorporate a lot of stuff, doesn't it? It really does. It's a huge part of the conspiracy puzzle and this matrix of control, to use a cliche phrase. And then we get into modern times, and it just seems like Israel and this faction of Zionists, if you want to say that, or loyalists to this side, are really trying to stamp out a much smaller faction. See, I want the best for all people. I am in the human family, baby, no exception. I think it'd be hard for any rational person to say that this analysis is based on some type of blind racism on my part. I have no prejudice towards anything but corruption and crimes against humanity. So when I'm trying to look at world events and conflicts and see through propaganda, I have to take into account which side is stronger. And it's hard to argue that Israel and Big Brother America aren't infinitely more powerful than their opposition here. But they manage perception by playing the victim card, as well as on the other side, being the reason why we get this boogeyman propaganda, the 9/11s, the random suicide bombings, and then an event like this shooting in France. It makes these people seem stronger than they are, more savage, more evil, so that when these Zionists, for lack of a better term, wipe these people out, we barely see them as people because they've been so dehumanized on a massive scale. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm working with an incomplete picture here, and it's hard to talk about this event attributed to Muslim extremists without getting into a wider conversation. So really, I hope this doesn't come off as anything more than a pursuit of the truth and an explanation as for how a clip could air on the same day as a relevant tragedy, and how we could put executives of ABC on the same team as the architects of this attack. And when I get on the internet today and I see all these people trying to draw images of Muhammad to show solidarity with free speech and the people of France and this magazine, their hearts are all in the right place. Yes, I would condemn a shooting, condemn tragedy. Of course, we all do. We want peace. Everyone does. But our leaders won't let us have it. And that's the key here, I think. I think the leaders are trying to perpetuate a stereotype. And I think there's a lot of manipulation going on. Maybe I'm overanalyzing it. I can't say. But I am going to get out of here. I think I made my point. I'm juggling grenades. But I'm going to play the clip one more time before I get out of here. But take care, guys. I'm recording 3 episodes in the next 5 days, so that's a lot of prep work, and I might not have a new show out until I get through that, because it is better to spend a few extra hours prepping for an interview than spend that time editing the one I have to get it out and then be unprepared for the next one. That ain't good. But let's keep fighting the good fight against anybody trying to keep us down, whether it's Zionists, Muslims, the NSA, CIA, OTO, Scottish Rite, Monsanto, reptilians, the Illuminati, the World Bank, economic hitman, or Baphomet himself. We got a lot of people to keep an eye on. Today I talked about one faction that maybe seems to have made the first propaganda play of the new year. Don't ever let those power brokers trick you into pointing the finger down the pyramid. The problems are always at the top. And that's about all we can be sure of. I'll see you soon, people. And one more time, here's the clip from that new Modern Family episode premiering on the same day as this shooting in France, 1 month after France defied the wishes of Israel's prime minister, and he actually said that it would be a grave mistake. The episode carries the title, The Day We Almost Died. And today in the THC court, I gotta say, the prosecution rests.
I was already on edge. The day before, I was with my mom at the park when some guy on a bike swiped her phone. He must have been a criminal mastermind. He struck the 1 second she wasn't taking pictures of Joe. The worst part is, I saw him grab it. I had a chance to do something and be a hero to my mom, but I froze.
What would you have done? made him the subject of a satirical cartoon.
Hey, they've taken down presidents. Now, can you just support me here? There are only so many moments a son has a chance to...
Blah, blah.
Very mature. Pick a fight, then tune me out? It's not bothering me. Stop it!